Hello YouTubers and welcome to Novus Talks with me, your host Novus Gorvis. And as you can tell from the title, for this video I wanted to talk about the Atari VCS. Simply because not a lot of other people are talking about it, and it would make for an interesting video, especially since it's supposedly coming out next week. Supposedly, I'll be surprised if it does. So yeah, in case you didn't know, yes, Atari is making a brand new console that they're trying to release to go up against the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. That alone is laughable, but that's what they're trying to do. So, the Atari VCS was first announced at E3 2017, and I believe a few months after that, they were taking pre-orders for it, and it was supposed to release in 2018, I believe. Those months rolled by. There was a Kickstarter campaign launched. I think it had like 3 million backers. Console got delayed. There was no news given. There was no updates on the actual specs of the console, any games, nothing like that. The months went by. Then it was delayed to... So it was delayed up until 2019, and then come 2019, it was delayed to this year, to November to be exact. And since it's been announced, things have only gone downhill since then. I'll admit, when it was first announced, I was surprised. I thought this would be pretty cool. The design of the console does look pretty cool. It's a very nice, sleek design, even if it is the classic Atari 2600 design. It does look pretty nice. So that alone had me hooked. I was like, okay, we have a brand new competitor, potentially, in the console wars. Let's see how this turns out. And I was initially surprised that over the next few months there was no news, there was no marketing, there was absolutely nothing with this console. And even right now, a week before the console's launch, there's no marketing, there's absolutely nothing for this. In fact, most people are doubting it even exists. I only started giving minimal updates. The few details on the specs they did give weren't very good for them. From what I've heard, I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but it is pretty weak. In fact, most iPhones have better storage and just all around better ability to run stuff than the VCS does. And on top of that, the games. It's a console, but there's no games. Also, it's not just a console. Atari are marketing this as a PC console hybrid. Supposedly you can modify your PC and run your browser off the VCS, and you can't actually download games on the VCS, you run them through a browser, something like that. Why you wouldn't just buy a PC instead of that? I'm speechless. It's really dumb, and you can see where this is starting to fall apart. A real controversy started to kick in. About a year ago, they started talking about some stuff that would be coming to the console. They mentioned Atari Vault, this collection of over 100 Atari games, and to our knowledge that was the only thing we heard about that was coming to the console. And they were marketing this as like a big exclusive thing. You can play old like Atari games. But then it was revealed shortly afterwards that Atari Vault is available on Steam for less than $10 American. So why you would buy the VCS for Atari Vault when you can get it for less than a tenner on Steam is... It's nonsensical. It's completely illogical. After that then, Atari pulled another stunt when they tried to show gameplay of Missile Command Recharged, and they were marketing this as like a big exclusive coming to the console. Even though it's a basic looking game, there's very little to it. In fact, it doesn't even look remotely fun. Maybe if it was on like an arcade system, sure, but for a console game, it doesn't look fun at all. It doesn't even look decent. And then afterwards, one of the developers apparently came out and said that this was false. The game was never developed for the VCS, and that apparently he had issues with Atari, and he'd either retired from them or something like that. Either way, he wasn't working in league with Atari, and he definitely wasn't developing the game for the console. So either they were developing this game themselves, or they were lying and saying it was coming to the console when it actually wasn't. So that set off a lot of red flags, as you can imagine. And then after that, Atari started marketing cryptocurrency. We were all wondering about games, but then Atari comes out and says stuff that they've got like an online casino store now, and they're trying to create their own cryptocurrency. And I don't get it, like who the fuck is gonna buy that? Who's gonna use that? Who's buying a console to go gambling? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And they didn't offer any other details on it. They didn't explain why. It was just a thing they could do for some fucking reason. And after that, the price. I want to get into the price before we go any further. About a year ago, Atari came out with the price for the VCS, and they have the audacity to put it out there that it's going to be $500, 500 euros. The same price as a PlayStation 5, but it can't even run any of those games. It can't even run last gen games. It can't even run Gen 7 games. And they're charging 500 for this. It can't really run anything. There's nothing on it. There is no games other than games that are either on Steam already, or games are just ripping from other developers. It completely boggles my mind. It's a fucking scam is what it is. And if people buy this, and I know there's going to be some people who will actually buy this will encourage them to keep doing it. And the thing is, we haven't even really seen the console itself in person. We've seen stock images going around and stuff from E3 and stuff in the trailers, but in-hand images of the console, we haven't seen anything. They've been posting pictures of the motherboards, and they've been posting pictures of them supposedly manufacturing the consoles, getting ready to ship them. That's all we've seen about it. And apparently they had a version of it to show at I think it was Gamescom or something a few months to a year back, and it was just a box. The actual internal components of the console weren't there, so it was just the shell of the console, but they had nothing in it because supposedly they hadn't even started developing it yet. So they were taking pre-orders for this console 2 years before they even began work on the console. And on top of that, apparently a while back as well, Atari were involved with some sort of watch, some sort of gaming watch or something that never made to fruition either, and that also became a scam. So I feel bad for people that put forth their money for this. A lot of people as well, Atari mentioned they were shipping out consoles. The first 500 were going out to indie developers who were supporting a console, which, let's be honest, there's no way 500 people were supporting this console. There's not a chance. So they had the audacity to claim, first of all, that there's 500 people, and then they're giving these 500 people the console, but they're not giving it to the people who backed the console on Kickstarter. People who've been waiting like 3 years, and they're not going to get the console. So you can see all of this just gets worse and worse as it goes on. The more we find out, the worse it is. And people have been bringing up, this is, at launch, this is going to fail horribly. And this is going to be the modern equivalent to the Ouya. I only heard about this console myself recently, but apparently in 2013 there was a console release called the Ouya, which was for indie devs and things like this. And apparently it seemed like a cool idea, but I think the controller was bad, the issues with the games and stuff, but they actually tried to do stuff. It was just the handling, the marketing, and the actual games that caused that to fail horribly. The actual hardware itself was okay for what it is. But that was a huge, massive flop, and that company went bankrupt and got bought out by someone else afterwards. Same thing's probably going to happen here. Atari, I should mention, isn't the same Atari it was 30 years ago. The Atari that's releasing the VCS is not the same company from the 1980s. Atari, after the Jaguar, got bought by Warner Bros. From what I've heard, and then Hasbro purchased it from them, and then it kind of got shipped along to other companies, and then Atari split into two different companies, and one of them, which was, I think, Atari Corporation, is the one that exists now. That's the one that's developing the VCS. They don't even have any of the people who were working at the original company. All they have is like the business assets and the name. Other than that, they have no relation to the original Atari. So not only are they scamming people with a really dodgy console, if you can even call it that, they're trying to tarnish the name of this iconic brand. This brand that was pivotal in the early days of gaming, and they're tarnishing that name with this piece of shit they're supposedly bringing out next month. What can I even say? It pisses me off, obviously, as I'm sure it pisses everyone off. And the thing is, there's going to be some people who actually buy this. That's the sad thing. People are going to buy this, and I pity those people because they expect that they're going to get some decent amount of games, but they won't get anything. And I don't know. I just can't believe this entire situation is happening, to be completely honest. There was so much potential when they announced this back in 2017. If done right, this could have been a cool, nostalgic thing. They don't even know how to market it now. We don't even know if it even exists, as I said. It's frankly unbelievable that this is happening, but Atari are getting greedy, and this is the result of it. But yeah, I just wanted to throw out this video as a sort of recap on what we know about the VCS, and just throw my thoughts in it because, with the launch of the next generation, I decided, this is supposedly coming out next week. Why not talk about it? Because not a lot of other people are, understandably so. And yeah. Other than that, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Maybe I missed some information about it. Were you familiar with the fact that Atari are bringing out a new console? Have you been keeping up to date with all the information? What do you think of all of this? Are you one of the people that has a pre-order for this? I want to hear everything you have to say down in the comment section below. And yeah, with that all said, thank you all for watching, and please subscribe. Nova Scorvace out.